Today we got our hands on a Fuji Saratoga. This is an aluminum hybrid step-through bicycle. This is week 18 of the Bike Flip Chronicles. So you guys already know the deal. We have to clean out the drivetrain, give it a tune-up, fix a hub issue that it came with, just a little loose, and get this bike ready for reselling. All right, so come along with me on this journey. Let's take a closer look on this bike and see what we got. Hi, my name is Louis, and I've been flipping bicycles and reselling them and fixing them for the past 5 months. We're coming up to the end of month 5, and today we got our hands on this Fuji bike. All right, so here is a closer look at this bicycle. So this is a solid entry-level Fuji Saratoga step-through frame with 26-inch wheels, riser bars, a threaded headset, kind of old school, right? And a size 17. Here is a closer look at the drivetrain. We got Shimano 7 Sis. You can kind of tell here that this rear pulley wheel is completely caked. I'm gonna do this bike a little bit of a good service. So here's the drivetrain a little bit more close up. Now, just by shifting, I can already feel that the cables, there's like no resistance. I can kind of sense that the limit screw is a little bit off for the low gear. Then the high gear is straight, like there's not much resistance in the cable, which tells you a lot. It shifts easy. So here, a closer look at that one by setup. As I spin the crank, the bottom bracket is good. The cable is good as well. Like I said, like I can easily shift through it, and it just runs like butter already, which is like a good sign. There's a little bit of hesitation to shift to that high gear, but I think after we take this apart, it's gonna be running even smoother. So one thing I did notice was a little bit of a nick here on the frame. It's a little bit like exposed, the frame, the paint got scraped, and you can see the rust forming, right? So we're gonna clean that up. There's no structural damage into the frame other than that. I ended up filing this down, sanding it down a little bit, and the bare metal is there. That's a little bit of some exposure, I'm not gonna lie. I kind of just improved it slightly. That's gonna be taking note of. I have already kind of washed the frame, but at the same time, I didn't. I basically just hosed it down to bring it inside. So just to recap, I'm gonna check the chain here and the chain wear. It doesn't seem to be worn down to the 0.75 yet. So the chain itself is still useful in this situation. For the rear cassette itself, it doesn't seem like there's any on the cogs. There's no visible wear other than this cosmetic like surface rust and grime. The chain is good. The pulley wheels are kind of caked. The derailleur shifts just fine. The cables shift just fine. The brakes themselves, there's enough brake pad surface so that we don't have to change that. You can kind of see it's still dirty in some of these areas. The frame, just that little nick that I noticed there. And let's move on to something that I did notice here on the front hub that I will have to fix. So just as I was inspecting it, I noticed this brake rub, and it's kind of odd because in the stand, elevated, you notice it, but when it's on the ground, you can't really tell like why or you can't really notice this kind of brake rub. So I questioned myself, and it was obvious when you have it on the ground, the hub itself is loose. So no harm there unless the actual bearing is worn out. So I'm gonna have to take a look at that and tighten up the cup and cone bearing on the hub. So I'm trying to get a better shot of this so you guys can see what I'm talking about. But you see it's loose, man. Like, this is loose. It should not be rocking like that, you know? So then, but when it's on the ground, it's being pushed up and there's no, it's free, you see? When I push it up. But that is just completely loose. So the way I'm gonna address this is, first of all, attempting to take this noodle off of the brake, which is proving itself to be a task in itself. But there it is. Look at that wobble, man. What? That is insane, bro. That's not supposed to do that. So other than that wobble on the hub and it being dirty, it's shifting pretty solid. It runs solid. And after analyzing all the components, the bottom bracket, the cassette, the chain, that physical derailleur mechanism on the rear, since this is a front one by, and the brakes, it seems like what we're gonna mainly do on this bike is clean out the rear derailleur and the pulley wheels, clean out the cassette, degrease the chain, then re-lubricate it all, and then address the front. All right, so we're gonna start by taking off the rear derailleur. And to do this, we have to take off the rear wheel. So I'm gonna go ahead and put my trusty wrench on this. Now, I know I'm wearing one glove and one not glove, but I'm just gonna start. Damn, that's tight, yo. That is tight. So I'm gonna try doing this on the rear as well, but this might just be like seized. Let's see. Yeah, this thing is tight, bro. Oh my gosh, you guys need to see this. Hold up. Wow, just look at that state of just complete like rust. All right, so now let's go ahead and try this again on this side. Wow. That just completely blew my mind. Let the wheel drop out. I'm gonna remove this rear brake, all right? The noodle. Man, she's tight too. Now that I knocked out the wheel, we can fully inspect the cassette now. Let me just zoom in a little bit here. So, other than having like obvious grime on the cassette, let me push this back so you guys can see it even clearer. It actually just doesn't look worn out, this freewheel. Sorry, I meant to say freewheel sprocket. All right, so we just need to degrease it. All right, so I set aside the rear wheel. Now we can access the derailleur. Now, all I gotta really do Just unscrew this bolt. And the rear derailleur comes off. This is one of these like hook-on hangers. Kind of old school, but before I forget, I'm gonna take the chain off, right? Sadly, this chain does not have a quick release, unfortunately. So we're just gonna have to push the pin out and break one of these links up. The other day I broke a chain breaker. Ironically, I broke one of these pushing a pin in incorrectly. So you want to make sure you push that pin in correctly. All right, so I basically just broke that chain apart. Kept the, if you guys can see, I kept that link in there, kind of like too much in, but I like doing that so it kind of hooks into the link better next time I put it back together. So let's just take apart this chain and put it into my bin, and look how dirty it is. Because this thing is grimy. All right, so let's just pull the chain out of here. And honestly, it's not too bad. I'm not gonna lie. It's just a little bit like that kind of dry, old look to it. This side's dirtier. So let's go ahead and clean this. So as you can see here, so taking a closer look at this chain, it doesn't seem dirty, like, but it is. Like if you look at it from afar, you know, it's not like overly neglected, but it does show some signs of grime here and there. Right, so we just want to make sure we clean that up. So when I flip it, like, people expect ride-ready bikes. Sometimes I feel like my expectations of ride-ready is different than others. And then some for better or worse, right? Because if you say cleaned and tuned bike on like Marketplace, some people will look at this and think this is cleaned and tuned, right? Or look at this side and say, oh, that's cleaned and tuned. And it shifts and it works. And then some people, you'd say this is cleaned and tuned, and they expect to be buying, I don't know, like a $500 carbon bike with like wax chain. Like that's just not it, man. Like, I'm sorry. So I mean, I'm still gonna say that my bikes are tuned, but I'm gonna stop setting false expectations for better or worse on bikes, you know what I mean, on Marketplace. So let's just get this in a bin, and we're just gonna put some degreaser on it. Before I do that, I am gonna take apart this derailleur to also let it simmer in that same degreaser that I spray. So I'm gonna go ahead and take this derailleur apart by starting with the cable. So basically what I just did was I pulled the cable off and I yanked it through here. It took the ferrule out, but I can just put a new one on. It's not frayed or anything. So now what I'm gonna do is remove the derailleur, which I'm doing. Sometimes I just talk too much. So if I just, oh, there it goes. All right, seems like we're able to just slide this off, and we can take a closer look at how caked this derailleur is. Jeez. Taking a closer look at this Shimano 7-Sys, there is contamination. Congrats, we spotted the obvious. Look at that pulley wheel, man. She gunked up, man. Now I'm just playing. So it's easy. We just have to degrease this and scrub it and get that stuff off of it. Get it back looking good. We already got some junk trying to come off of it. Whoa, that junk floating off a hair or something. I don't want it. All right, so if we take a closer look at this derailleur, just completely caked in dirt, man. I already took some off of it just to like scrape it up, but this side is still caked. So I like to pick at these things and get the dirt like going. If my camera can focus, like you guys would be able to see a little bit better, but it seems like my camera is being a little stubborn right now. All right, I mean, not the best lighting, but you guys get the point. This stuff is just like caked, man. Just absolutely disgusting. It's like contamination. So the reason why I don't just like clean the chain, for example, or like clean the chain only and then just put everything back together is because if I was just to clean the chain, then this would just still be in there, man. Like this stuff would still just be in there, and it's gonna contaminate the chain. It's just gonna contaminate the chain. It's not gonna solve any issues, and that lube is just gonna go to waste. So you guys get the point. This derailleur is dirty. I'm gonna spray this down with some degreaser. Now, I ran out of my automotive degreaser, so I'm gonna be using some Dawn today. Dawn works, not as good, I don't think, but at the same time, it still works. So we're just gonna spray all this up, dude. I'm not gonna lie, sometimes it is hard to get an angle like this on my videos. Just gonna spray the freewheel with some degreaser on the cogs to agitate. Yo, so at this point, I'm gonna let this simmer and just give it a scrub, and then we'll go from there. Angle on this, like once like I like clear this up off camera. So like I'll just do the best I can here as an example. Alright, so my microphone should be on now. It just had turned off, I don't know why. But given that I have all the components off of the bike right now, I can give this system, this frame, sort of a wipe down, just because there was a lot of like crud or crap like around the freaking brakes, which I don't like seeing. I don't like seeing that. It gives me a nauseous feeling looking at this like poop mud. Got like poop mud all over the dropouts, poop mud all over the hub. Like this is not something I want to give to someone, you know what I mean? Like if someone gave me a bike like this dirty, like that I went out and I didn't know about bikes and I wanted to buy a bike and get into cycling, like this is not good. So I need to clean the dropouts, clean the chainstay, clean the bottom bracket area. Just a simple wipe down I think is sufficient, just because I don't think it needs deep cleaning. Like I said, like the bottom bracket here is spinning freely. There's no grinding. There's no notching. Just with a simple like wipe down of the crank, wipe down of the frame, the dropouts. It's gonna give this bike a better look and feel later down the line when someone comes to test ride this, you know what I mean? So after scrubbing the cassette, just look at that scrubbing and degreasing the cassette, it just looks a lot cleaner, man. Like, just look at that. Just like, okay, this gives a good vibe, you know? But in all seriousness, when something is contaminated, it accelerates chain wear, drivetrain wear. It accelerates a lot of wear, like prematurely. So when you give a cassette a good wash, you're evading that premature wear. Although components are gonna wear down anyway, but this is a freewheel. I keep saying cassette. I just work with multiple things. Sometimes my mind doesn't wrap my mind around it, whatever. But I've actually serviced one of these recently, and this one has a lock ring. So if you ever want to service this, I suggest a reel. I might put it up here on the cards for you. You just have to undo the lock ring and then take out the little 2-hole notch free wheel removing tool thingy. You take that off, and then you can access this and all the bearings inside. Believe it or not, there's like a billion bearings in here, man. They all came flying out at once at me like the other day. So now, after degreasing this rear Shimano 7-sys derailleur, we can check out that pulley wheel is a lot cleaner. They are spinning freely, but this one might need a little bit of lube. I still have to find a way to clean that spring out. I think I might invest in some type of ultrasonic cleaner just to get that even cleaner, you know what I mean? Because there's like grease and gunk in here. You see that? Oh man, we missed something. We gotta clean it. Well, I'm gonna go give that a clean. Now, what's up with the chain? Let's look at this chain. Wow. You see a little bit of degreaser and scrubbing will take a chain from looking like neglected to not neglected. Anyways, this chain is looking shiny again. It's looking good. All right. So let's just get this all back on the bike. And while I have this off and the drivetrain off, let's just address the elephant in the room here, that hub. So excuse me if this isn't the best angle, but just showing you guys what I'm doing here to remove this freaking front wheel. All right, we already loosened it up, the brake caliper or the brakes. So if we take a closer look at this hub, there's a lot of rocking. You see that? Just in the quick release itself, that mechanism is just loose. The hub is loose, but you see how dirty it is? It's mainly just that the cup and the cone aren't tightened. So we gotta tighten that up. So I put the wheel back on just as a quick show again. You see how like loose that is? So again, we can see that the hub, lock nut, and the cup and cone are loose. So my first fix here is gonna be to wipe this down. So just by wiping this down, we can like tighten it a little bit better. Although to really clean this like properly, you do need to remove the hub itself. But you can do a long ways just by doing this with a rag and getting in between the spokes and cleaning her up. We're not gonna overhaul this hub. We're not gonna spend more time on a $60 flip than I need to. but we just need to tighten that up, all right? All right, so without getting too fancy, the way that I like to do this is getting a monkey wrench, all right? And a small monkey, well, 2 monkey wrenches. And you do technically need a cup and cone wrench, but you could go as far as being bold as me and kind of MacGyver it, all right? But to do it properly, I do want to suggest that you do get a cup and cone wrench. I just don't have one at the moment, but anyways, so believe it or not, I set the wrench underneath and I was gonna do this and tighten it, and I just felt like it wasn't moving, like it's moving, but I'm like, oh, it must be loose at the bottom, because the reason why you put one side locked down like that with a wrench and you tighten the other one is so that it doesn't move freely down here, since they're both like intertwined. And I'm like, okay, so it's moving, but guess what? Like, it was so loose that I can literally like unscrew it and tighten it with my finger. That is just so dangerous. So believe it or not, I didn't even have to tighten that down with anything else, like, or loosen it, you know what I mean? So the whole strategy here is to hold this one down at the bottom and tighten it. But you don't want it too tight, or else the hub is not going to move. Too loose and it's going to shake on you. So it's finding that right balance of having enough play versus no play. So that's probably a little bit too tight, I'm not gonna lie. So we're just gonna like loosen it just a tad bit and then see how much play I have. So just the fact that I was tightening it, you see how tight it is now? It doesn't want to move at all, like the hub is just stuck. That's something you want to be aware of, because at the same time, like, you don't want to make it so then you can't even like spin the wheel. So I'm gonna just set it down again, and we're gonna loosen it and find that right balance. Now I know I'm trying to get the best shot of this, but I'm doing what I can to show you guys. All right, so I think I just got it. You see, the hub is spinning now, but there's no play, but there's like a very tiny little bit of play. Now I think the correct way of doing it is just getting it like tight enough. But then this is why you need a cup and cone wrench, because what's happening here is that the lock nut is so loose that the actual cup cone part of it isn't locked into the correct place. So this is why you do need appropriate tools for this, all right? So I'm gonna get some pliers and pinch the rear, the inner cup, and tighten the top on the other side, just so I get some peace of mind on this hub, all right? All right, so I got the wheel back on, and there is like no play in this, all right? Like no play, and it's spinning freely. So I guess my job here is done. Let's just mount everything back on and call it a day. All right, so let's see how fast I can finish. No, I'm kidding, guys. See, the thing is, I can mount the rear wheel first, but because this is like old school, we need to put this derailleur in first. I kind of don't like these derailleurs because there's a lot of fidgeting, all right? It's a lot of annoying fidgeting. No, I'm kidding. Think about it. This was the technology at the time, and it worked, right? And it works. So technology has come a long way, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, bike, mechanic, whatever. So here what I'm trying to do, it's a little tricky because this thing is like oval shaped. Like this bolt back here is oval shaped. So I have to align it properly and then at the same time keep it in place so it actually grips and doesn't like fall off. But so I'm trying to get a good grip on this. I'm just gonna shut up and work. So the technique here is to tighten it just enough so where it starts to hold, and then twisting it back. Now I do fear over torquing that, so I'm not gonna keep torquing it. But now we can finally mount this wheel back on, but guess what? This isn't a quick release. This is a frickin' bolt-on rear wheel. I guess their budget ran out. Fuji's budget ran out, and they decided to put the quick release in the front and have a bolt-on wheel in the back. How genius is that, dude? It's like they just gave up on their budget, like last minute. They're like, screw this budget. We're going ahead and we're doing it our way. They said, we ran out of money and resources. Let's just make this wheel on the back bolt on, okay? Now, but the cool thing, I'm not gonna lie, about this type of wheel is that, and frame, is that it has horizontal dropouts. So like if you ever really wanted to make like a fixed gear out of this, you really could, you can, so. All right, let's just mount the chain back on and review everything I did. And I haven't even lubricated the cables. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of feel bad about that, but at the same time I don't, because it's like, so the way the chain goes on this, since it is a 1x, it just literally goes over the chain ring and not in between any type of derailleur. Then this chain back here goes in an S shape, all right? Now there's one way to do it, and then there's a wrong way of doing it. Can you guess? Well, since I took the pin out, that was the wrong way. Joke's on me. I have to redo this whole thing. All right. Alrighty, so I was able to reattach the chain, and I lubed up the pulley wheels and chain on the cassette with some dry lube. Although it's not ideal to lube it on the cassette, it might attract dirt. It's running buttery smooth. She's shifting like a charm. Look at that. Bam. See that? Clean. Nice and smooth shifting. Let's get a closer look at that. Lubricated the chain. And she's shifting. Look at that. Nice and clean. 1x setup. And that's it. I mean, I reattached the cable on here, and I lubed up the chain, I lubed up the pulley wheels, I lubed up, what else? A little bit of this cable, I'm not gonna lie. I put some down in the tube to shift it easier. And overall, I wiped down the bottom bracket area again. Alrighty guys, so that was the tune and clean of the drivetrain on the Fuji Saratoga. Now this bicycle came in, it wasn't too dirty already, but you know, it came in shifting good. It came in with decent cables, and with just a little bit of a tune-up and checking that the pulley wheels were clean, inspecting the spring on the rear derailleur, inspecting the cables, fixing the front hub on this bike, not fixing it, but tightening it up so it wouldn't wobble. This bike is actually feeling a lot smoother. Again, here are the checks that I made. I checked that the cassette was good. I checked that the frame was good, first of all. I checked that the derailleur was functioning, the cables are functioning, the chain is functioning. I checked that the seat post was not seized. I checked the brakes. I checked the bottom bracket for play. This is a cup and cone bottom bracket, not a sealed bottom bracket. The front derailleur is just as a 1-by setup, so no front derailleur. We aligned, well, the alignment of the limit screws were already set. The cassette, the freewheel is already aligned to the cog. The cogs were already aligned to the rear derailleur in that axis. And it's shifting well. It's performing good. I'm very pleased with the way that the shifting came out, I'm not gonna lie. I'll probably take this out for a little spin, I'm not gonna front. This is something that I would definitely ride on my free time. It's a solid frame, it's actually not too heavy, believe it or not. 26-inch wheels, very serviceable, very easy to maintain, considering it's a 1-by. So that pretty much wraps it up for the checks and the overview. I had a good time on this. I can't believe we've already made it past week 18. I'm so grateful for all the support recently. Continue considering to leave a like and subscribe to this channel. It goes a long way. And thank you guys for tuning in again. So this was the before shots of the bicycle. And by the before shots, I mean the before footage, so you guys can see the condition of it again, although you pretty much saw it in the video. All right, now these are the selling shots of the bicycle. Now these are the shots I put up on Marketplace, the customers see, and they can be pleased to know that the bike is running smooth, good, clean, and for the resale price that I'm moving this at, there's nothing to complain about in this tier of flipping. All right, so thank you guys for tuning in. Again, I really appreciate it. I've come a long way documenting 18 weeks so far upon every bike I've tuned up, started from the ground, getting a bike stand and all this, and it's been quite the journey, and I feel like there's a lot more to go in establishing LFG cycling. So thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of the Bike Flip Chronicles. All right, tell me in the comments, would you ride this or would you pass it? So, all right, guys, I'll catch you guys in the next one.